The modern mind has developed a strange emergency response system. The moment boredom appears, the hand reaches for the phone as if silence is a small kitchen fire. Waiting in line? Phone. Elevator? Phone. One difficult sentence in a report? Phone. A 3-second pause in conversation? Phone. Because apparently the human species survived thousands of years only to become emotionally dependent on loading icons. Welcome. In this fourth part of Deep Work, we cover two of Newport's most practical rules: embrace boredom and quit social media. These chapters are really about training attention. Newport's point is blunt. You cannot expect to work deeply if every idle moment has trained your brain to flee discomfort. The rule, embrace boredom, does not mean become dull or reject pleasure. It means stop treating the first hint of mental friction as a command to seek stimulation. Deep work requires the ability to stay with difficulty. If your brain is constantly rewarded for escaping difficulty, then depth will feel unbearable. Newport compares concentration to a skill that must be trained. Many people think they can live distracted most of the day and then switch into deep focus when needed. The book says this is unrealistic. If you spend your free moments reinforcing distraction, you are practicing distraction. The brain becomes good at what it repeatedly does. This is a key idea. You're always training your attention. The question is what you are training it to do. Every quick check teaches the mind that boredom is intolerable. Every escape teaches the mind that discomfort does not need to be endured. Then, when you sit down for deep work, the mind behaves exactly as trained. It squirms, bargains, invents emergencies, and requests a tiny reward in the form of a completely unnecessary tab. Newport's advice is not simply take breaks from distraction. He flips the default. Instead of taking occasional breaks from distraction to focus, take occasional breaks from focus to use distraction. Schedule internet use. Decide when you will go online, and outside those windows, stay offline even if you feel the urge. This is powerful because it trains restraint. The important moment is not when you're peacefully focused and everything is easy. The important moment is when you want to check something and choose not to. That small refusal is a repetition. It strengthens the muscle of attention. Of course, the mind will object. It will say the check is necessary. It will say the information is important. It will say you're just going to look up one thing. The mind is a talented lawyer when it wants dopamine. It can make opening a shopping app sound like a civic duty. Newport also recommends working with intense concentration under time constraints. Give yourself less time than feels comfortable and push the mind to focus. This is not about panic as a lifestyle. It is about deliberate training. When the time block is clear and limited, attention sharpens. You learn to bring more force to the work. Another practice he suggests is productive meditation. This means taking a walk or doing a physical activity while focusing on a single professional problem. The goal is to bring the mind back whenever it wanders, just as in traditional meditation, but the object is a real problem. This is useful because it trains depth outside the desk. It also exposes how quickly the mind drifts. 1 minute you are thinking about a strategic problem. The next minute you are remembering a snack from 2014. The brain is a creative institution. Productive meditation works best with a clearly defined problem. Do not begin with a foggy wish like, think about my life. That is not meditation. That is an invitation to become dramatic near a tree. Choose a specific question. How should this chapter be structured? What is the bottleneck in this project? What would make this argument clearer? Then walk, think, and return when the mind wanders. Newport also mentions memory training as a way to strengthen concentration. The details are less important than the principle. Give the mind demanding exercises that require sustained attention. Concentration grows through use. If you never ask the mind to hold something difficult, It becomes weak at holding difficult things. Then Newport turns to social media. This chapter is often misunderstood as a simple anti-social media rant. It is more precise than that. Newport is not saying every digital tool is evil. He is attacking the any benefit approach to tool selection. Many people use a tool if they can identify any possible benefit. Twitter might help me learn something. Instagram might help me network. LinkedIn might help my career. A group chat might contain useful information. Therefore, use everything. Newport argues that this is a terrible standard. Almost every tool has some benefit. The real question is whether the benefits substantially outweigh the costs, given your most important goals. A tool can provide occasional value and still be a net negative if it fragments your attention, drains your time, or trains you towards shallow stimulation. This is where the book becomes especially useful. It does not ask, is this tool bad? It asks, what is this tool doing to the life I'm trying to build? Newport proposes a craftsman approach to tool selection. A craftsperson chooses tools carefully based on what best supports the craft. They do not keep every tool simply because it might one day be useful. In the same way, a knowledge worker should choose digital tools based on the core activities and values that matter most. The process is simple. Identify your main goals in work and life. Identify the key activities that support those goals. Then ask whether a tool has a strong positive impact on those activities. If the impact is small, mixed, or mostly negative, do not keep the tool merely because it occasionally offers a crumb of value. This is a more mature argument than delete everything. Some people genuinely need social media for work, business, research, community, or creative distribution. Others mostly use it to convert anxiety into scrolling and scrolling into more anxiety, a business model so elegant that civilization should probably be embarrassed. Newport suggests taking a break from optional technologies and observing what happens. The break reveals whether the tool was truly necessary or merely habitual. If after a period away your life is not worse, and perhaps even calmer, that tells you something. The silence may be evidence. The deeper issue is opportunity cost. Time spent on low-value digital consumption is not neutral. It displaces higher-value activities. Reading, thinking, building, resting, exercising, talking, practicing, planning, being bored enough for an idea to surface. The cost of distraction is not only what it takes. It is what never gets born because attention was elsewhere. Newport also criticizes the way people use entertainment websites and feeds to fill leisure. He argues that if you do not plan your free time, low-quality distraction will rush in. This sounds strict, but the point is humane. A good life needs high-quality leisure. It needs activities that restore, challenge, connect, or delight us. Passive scrolling often fails to do that. It gives stimulation without nourishment. This is one of the most practical parts of the book. Many people protect work time badly because they also use leisure badly. They are tired, so they seek easy distraction. The distraction does not restore them, so they remain tired. Then deep work feels harder, so they seek more distraction. It is a loop, and like many loops, it pretends to be comfort while quietly stealing energy. The answer is not to turn every evening into a productivity monastery. Please do not make a spreadsheet called optimal joy allocation. The answer is to choose leisure deliberately. Read something absorbing. Exercise. Cook. Meet people. Learn music. Build something. Walk without headphones sometimes. Give the mind experiences that are richer than the infinite slot machine. The two rules in this episode work together. Embrace boredom trains the mind not to flee discomfort. Quit social media, or at least choose tools more rigorously, protects the mind from unnecessary fragmentation. Together, they make deep work possible because they address the real battlefield. Not the desk, but attention habits. For viewers, The practical experiment is clear. First, schedule your internet use for a few days. Outside those windows, when the urge to check appears, do not immediately obey. Notice the urge. Let it pass. You're not dying. You're just bored, which is less dramatic but apparently more difficult. Second, audit one digital tool. Ask what major goal it supports, what activity improves, and what it costs. Be honest, not fantasy honest, where every app is secretly part of your grand strategy. Real honest. If the tool disappeared for 30 days, what would break? What would improve? Third, plan one piece of high-quality leisure before the day collapses into default behavior. If you do not decide, the algorithm will decide, and the algorithm has not exactly demonstrated deep concern for your flourishing. Newport's message is not that boredom is pleasant. It is that boredom is useful. It is the doorway through which concentration returns. If you constantly seal that doorway with stimulation, you should not be surprised when depth cannot enter. The social media rule also deserves a careful interpretation. Newport is not asking you to prove moral superiority by having no accounts. That could become its own strange performance. The goal is not purity. The goal is control. A tool should serve a chosen purpose. If it is not a tool anymore. It is a habit wearing a business badge. One way to apply the craftsman approach is to name your top professional and personal goals. For each goal, list a few activities that genuinely move it forward. Then evaluate each digital tool against those activities. Does the tool substantially support them? Does it save time, improve quality, deepen relationships, or create opportunities that matter? Or does it mostly provide noise with occasional useful crumbs? This test is useful because it avoids vague arguments. People often defend a platform by saying, "Sometimes I find good ideas there." That may be true. The question is whether those occasional ideas justify the hours of scattered attention around them. If a restaurant served one spoon of nutrition hidden inside a bucket of glitter, you would not call a balanced meal. Newport's suggested break from optional tools is valuable because it replaces theory with evidence. Stop using the tool for a defined period, perhaps 30 days. Do not announce it dramatically unless necessary. Just leave, then observe what breaks. If nothing important breaks, that is information. If some things improve, that is more information. If you genuinely miss a specific benefit, reintroduce the tool with rules. Those rules matter. A tool can be useful in a bounded form and harmful in an unlimited form. Social media used for scheduled publishing may be helpful. Social media used as emotional anesthesia, every time work becomes difficult, is not the same activity. The name of the app did not change, but the role it plays in your life did. The boredom rule works the same way. You're not trying to suffer for no reason. You're trying to rebuild tolerance for mental quiet. A person who cannot stand 5 minutes without input will struggle to spend 2 hours with a hard problem. The training begins in small spaces: waiting, walking, sitting, commuting, cleaning, eating. These moments teach the brain whether silence is safe. The bigger lesson is that attention is shaped outside work as much as inside work. If leisure is completely fragmented, work focus becomes harder. If every quiet moment becomes a feed, deep work sessions begin with a mind already trained for escape. Newport is asking for a whole life view of focus. This is also why high-quality leisure matters. A rich evening can make focus easier the next day. A shallow evening can leave you stimulated but unrestored. Reading, exercise, conversation, craft, music, cooking, learning, prayer, walking, or playing with children can all refill attention in ways that random scrolling rarely does. The content of leisure becomes part of the deep work system. A useful way to begin is to create friction around the worst habits rather than trusting heroic self-control. Remove apps from the home screen. Log out after scheduled use. Keep the phone outside the room during deep work. Use a basic blocking tool if needed. Put a book, notebook, or instrument where the phone usually lives. You're not trying to become a saint. You're trying to stop making distraction the easiest option in the room. Newport's advice also changes how we think about boredom in children, students, and families. A home where every silent moment is instantly filled by a screen teaches the same lesson as a workplace full of pings. Discomfort must be escaped. Deep work suggests a different lesson. Some empty space is healthy. Some waiting is training. Some quiet lets thoughts surface before it is buried under entertainment. For adults, this can feel almost embarrassing. We like to imagine ourselves as rational decision makers. Then a red notification badge appears, and we behave like a medieval village seeing an eclipse. That is not a moral failure. It is a design problem plus repetition. The way back is also repetition. Delay the check. Return to the task. Choose the tool by purpose. Repeat until the mind remembers that it can survive without constant novelty. The social media chapter is especially relevant for creators. If you publish online, you may need platforms. But creation and consumption must be separated. Writing a post is not the same as scrolling for 40 minutes after posting it. Research is not the same as wandering through outrage. Distribution is not the same as emotional dependency on metrics. Newport's tool, Standard, helps creators use platforms without being used by them. The larger promise is attention sovereignty. That sounds grand, but it is practical. Who decides where your mind goes? Your values, or the next engineered cue? If the answer is always the cue, deep work will remain fragile. If you begin choosing deliberately, depth gets room to return. This is why Newport places these rules before the final discussion of shallow work. You cannot drain the shallows if your mind is addicted to the shallows. First, you train the appetite. Then, you redesign the schedule. Otherwise, the calendar may look disciplined while the mind keeps sneaking out the back door. For many people, this episode is the real turning point. It says that focus is not only a calendar problem, it is also a tolerance problem. Can you tolerate quiet, delay, and effort long enough for the better work to appear? Deep work requires a trained mind. A trained mind can wait. It can stay. It can wrestle with a problem after the first easy answer fails. It can resist the little itch to check. It can choose tools instead of being chosen by them. Thank you for watching this fourth part. In the next episode, we will finish with Newport's final rule, drain the shallows. That is where the book becomes very concrete about schedules, email, meetings, and the hard truth that not every task deserves a home in your day. Until then, try being bored on purpose for a few minutes. Nothing dramatic. Just stand in line without checking your phone. If your brain acts offended, congratulate it. Training has begun.